you all being here. Thank you so much, and let's give these people a hand.
Thank you, Kara, for asking me to moderate tonight. True teacher spirit, we have our popsicle sticks with our names on it, and that's how we'll decide who answers questions tonight. That's how we'll keep track. So we'll go ahead and get started with our opening question. And the first question tonight is, what relevant experiences, skills, or background do you possess that you feel will benefit the district and the board? Do you have any experience in education? And we'll start off tonight with Dallas.
All right, hey, there we go. All right, so my name is Dallas Barron. I've been in Goodland here for about 10 years. Married my wife 10 years ago, came over here from Colby. So I do not have any public school education experience as far as teaching or anything like that, but I do come with experience as a leader in the private sector, with a strong background in business and development and team management. I am skilled in problem solving, budget management, strategic planning, and effective communication. I've successfully built and led teams by listening to diverse perspectives, making informed decisions, and fostering collaborative environments. Very entrepreneurial. I've started a couple businesses here in town. Expertise in resource management and creative solutions to complex challenges. And I'm committed to working alongside the educators and valuing their expertise while offering a fresh business-informed perspective to the district.
Next up will be Michaela Kaus.
Hi, I'm Michaela Kaus, Goodlandite, born, raised, graduated GHS. Super proud of our schools in general. I pretty well am well-rounded when we look at how can I help the board, what can I do, what experiences do I have. I have spent the last 8 years in higher ed. I've taught everything from technical education to general college classes. So when we look at curriculum, when we look at classroom struggles, and we're looking at that student in general, I've got 8 years of experience with them hands-on. I've also worked as a para in the Monument School District, so if you know, you know. I've got to be there in the depths. I've got to be there when maybe it's not the best moment of the day, when we're kind of maybe having to do some restraining, maybe we're having to do some calling. So I can see like what works, like I know what works, and I know that not everything works for every kid, so that's kind of like where what works and what can we do better. On the other side of all of that, I also have some experience in the legal field, specifically with juveniles. So I worked with juvenile delinquents, I worked with our truancy kids, and I worked with our SINC, or our child in need of care children. So I know that school is a whole lot more than just coming up and going to school, right? We're looking at attendance, family support, the mental health, what's happening at home before we get to school, right? And last but not least, I wrapped up this last year as the Head Start Parent Policy Council member. So I got to learn more about funding models. I got to learn more about Head Start grants, grant models, school models. Oh my gosh, there's so much financing and craziness that goes in with that, right? But I also got to understand that the more family can be involved early on, the more we see success rates later on. So all of that is super exciting. It's partly why I'm super passionate about being on the board. But yeah, like I said, I've got education, I've got leadership, I've got all these things, and I really think that we can bring it all to the table.
Thank you, Michaela. Move on to Paige Ely.
Hi, I'm Paige Ely, and I have lived in the district my entire life, went preschool through graduation at Goodland High School. This community is my home. I'm proud to be raising my family here. Professionally, I work as a facilities analyst for CVS Health, where I focus on problem solving, finding creative, cost-effective solutions, often with limited resource, something a district knows very well. That experience has taught me to ask questions, look deeper, and not stop until I find the answer. I've also had the privilege of working within this district as a para, which has given me firsthand experience supporting teachers and students in the classroom. I don't claim to have all the answers, but I'm not afraid to find them. I care deeply about every child in our district having a voice, and I want to make sure education is at the forefront of every decision that's made. Thank you.
Thank you, Paige. Trevor Linton. I Next one.
Yeah, thank you. I do have 5 years of experience on the school board already. We have 4 children that have been in the district, 3 currently in the district, that have been active in a variety of extracurricular activities, experience with dual credit courses, those kinds of things. Highly involved in the community in a variety of capacities, from our church, coaching youth sports, being a past member of the Goodland Medical Foundation Board, on the Business Advisory Board at Fort Hays Tech, and active in Rotary for 20 years. Within my profession, I have knowledge in economics and a strong ability to help make sound financial decisions. I want to continue to work hard to build relationships with parents, teachers, and community members, and have a strong ability to listen to concerns and opposing views.
Thank you, Trevor. Move on to Kat Franklin.
Okay, I'm Catherine Franklin, and I am from Wichita. My husband and I moved here in 2011. Tim is from here. I was a student in the public classroom for 19 years. I earned a bachelor's degree from Kansas State University, which is where I met Tim, and then I went on to get my master's from Iowa State University. We have 3 kids in the district, 6th, 4th, and 1st grades. I believe that public education is the backbone of any community, and maybe you've seen my signs around town, but I fully believe that when you have strong schools, you have a strong community. So you can expect as a board member that I'm going to support policies and efforts that are gonna work for the betterment of USD 352. I also serve on both West and North site councils. I am vice president currently of the Fort Hays Tech Northwest Foundation. I've been a part of that since 2021. I'm also the vice president of the Goodland Public Library's Board of Directors, and I'm currently in my 2nd year co-leading the junior senior high youth group at the United Methodist Church. And as I was preparing for tonight and looking back at all the things that I pour my time into, it really comes back to education and kids, and that's where I'm passionate and where you can expect strong leadership and just a calling really to help make our community the best it can be.
Thank you, Kat. Next up will be Chris Fullwider.
All right, thank you. It's good to be here. I think it's important to know that I come from a long line of public educators. My grandmother was a teacher, my mom, my sister, my wife now. So I know how important it is for the board to lead the district, which also leads the community, leads the students. So I hope to bring a perspective of a community member, someone who's been involved in the community, been involved in church, youth sports, things like that. I bring a blend of professional experience, community involvement, and problem-solving skills. I've been a manager at the Goodland Hospital here for about 15 years. In there, I've served on a multitude of committees, developing skills, communication, budgeting, accountability, all directly relevant to board service. My approach is I make fact-based decisions. I don't make emotional ones. I don't come in with an agenda, a personal agenda or a political agenda. My strengths are I'm approachable, I'm a good listener, I'm a hard worker, I'm willing to roll up my sleeves for the school district and do what needs to be done. I do have some teaching experience. I've done some teaching out at the college with the respiratory therapy program out there. I do some teaching at the hospital for EMS. I serve on the advisory committee for the respiratory care program out at the college as well. My goal is to ensure that all the students here are prepared, teachers are supported, and taxpayers know where their money is going to. Overall, I hope to bring a balance of non-political approach focused on teachers, schools, and student success. Thank you.
Well, Terry, I won't pull your popsicle stick out, but you're up.
Thank you, Jason. I'm Terry Smith. I'm a 1983 graduate of Goodland High School. My spouse is Kara Smith. She's been a teacher in USD 352 for 32 years. We had a daughter, Emily, graduate from GHS in 2018. The experience I have, I've been on the Board of Education for 10 plus years. 3 of those years I was the vice president. I'm currently the president and have been for the last 3 years. All 10 years I've represented USD 352 at the Northwest Kansas Educational Service Center in Oakley. Those are the people that employ our special education, speech path, Head Start, and so on. I'm still passionate about public education. I'm ready to serve you 4 more years. I want you to know that when I think about every decision I make, whether it's small or big, these 3 things is what I think about. The impact on the education of our students, the positive or negative impact on each and every one of our staff members, and the financial impact it will have on our community. Thank you.
All right, the following are the next 2 questions we have all come from students at Goodland Junior Senior High School. The first one is, how would you support mental health district-wide? And we'll start with Kat.
Okay, so obviously, I think mental health is an issue statewide, countrywide. Kansas is only one of 3 states that doesn't have any legislation or anything down regarding policy of cell phones and social media, etc. So I think my first thing would be is to look or to review our cell phone and personal device policies, suggest modeling after the gold standard, and a lot of policies that are being created are looking at away all day. So that includes lunch and passing periods. Of course, all good policies have exceptions for medical needs, IEPs, and 504 plans. So it would just be assessing our policy. You're seeing a lot of state and national legislation with bipartisan support because it's pretty hard to argue that our students don't matter. I also think a community outreach in the form of a reading buddy program can have dual purpose. It can influence the students by having a mentor type relationship, and it could also address our reading scores. My dad is a reading buddy in a Wichita area elementary school, and he's done that for 2 years. It's in one of the poorest zip codes of the state of Kansas. He takes about 25 minutes a week during this child's library time where he works with the student on his sight words, and they read aloud to one another. I think that there are a lot of opportunities in our community, again, strong schools, strong community, where we could partner up and be able to create some form of reading buddy program. And I think that reaps all the benefits of I'm done, but I think it really benefits the student.
Thank you, Kat. Next up will be Dallas.
All right, so obviously mental health is a major issue in the United States everywhere, for several different reasons, I guess. But I think the main thing we should do is focus on making sure every student has easy access to caring counselors, which I think there's great counselors in the school already. I think that we can teach our students skills to handle stress and emotions through programs built into their daily school life. There's just many ways we can do that, I guess. Creating a welcoming and safe environment is key, where students feel comfortable asking for help without any shame or fear for looking for help. I think that's a lot of the reason these kids don't reach out for help, is they're afraid that their peers are gonna make fun of them or they're gonna look down on them. But I think that the kids are really anxious and looking for help. They're just afraid to do so. I also make sure teachers and staff get good training so that they can spot when a student is struggling and know how to help or connect them to the right resources. Also key is, budget to make sure we keep these services strong. Overall, it's about building a supportive community where students know they're not alone and they can thrive both at home and at school.
Thank you, Dallas. Next up, Chris.
Yes, I believe mental health should be a district-wide priority for sure. I mean, expanding access to counseling. We already have great counselors here in the school, but possibly partnering with local health organizations to just expand that, more access, more opportunities for students to get that help if there's more counselors, if funding does allow. Early support prevents bigger problems, so early prevention programs, I believe, is important. Skill building groups. Improve on teacher training. I know teachers get trained every year, but maybe there's something we can look at as far as improving how to recognize, respond to signs of stress, anxiety, depression. That way the students can get intervened earlier. Increased teacher retentions, I believe, is a big way, or an indirect big way on how we can improve mental health. The reason I say that is if we have teacher retention, I mean, those teachers, those seasoned teachers are familiar with the students, they're familiar with their behaviors, they are able to see the signs earlier. So again, that also helps with the early interventions. Support staff and teachers, I think, is important as far as mental health goes. I mean, teaching is a demanding job. We all need to recognize that. Provide those teachers resources, peer support, mental health days possibly. I believe that would make a big impact. And so when students and staff's well-being improves, I feel academics, attendance, and morale also improve.
Thank you, Chris. Michaela.
Obviously, we are seeing, and it's not just in K-12, we're seeing it into higher ed. We are in a mental health crisis. We're seeing anxiety and depression that is skyrocketing. And I think part of the ways to battle this has got to be schools, families, and community. There's not one person that can wear that one hat and say, this is going to be it. There's no magic wand, right? We need to focus on parent engagement, right? If we don't have a parent who's engaged, how are our kids going to be engaged? If we don't have a parent that wants to check in on our kids, those kids have one safe spot, and that's that 8 hours that our teachers get to see them, hopefully Monday through Friday. So things like incentivizing parents to be involved. I know, like, the Head Start does these really cool things called family activity nights, and it's not necessarily there to be like, hey, you're a bad parent. No, it's there to be like, hey, let's go have fun. Let's take the kids out, let's go decorate pumpkins, let's make apple cider, let's go do arts and crafts. Sometimes as a parent, that's not real high on our, like, I want to do that list, but watching the smiles and the laughter that come out of that is a super big plus. Our teachers need to be supported, right? We can't do this without our teachers. So can we give them better professional development? Can we give them better ways to deal with this? Can we give them the opportunity to collaborate as teachers in their own time to find out what works best for certain students or certain areas, right? But overall, I want to build an environment where students and staff feel heard, supported, and valued. Because if we're heard, we're supported, and we're valued at both the staff, faculty, and students, education can thrive, and mental health feels supported as well.
Thank you, Michaela. Terry.
Yes, mental health is one of the biggest challenges in public education. So how do we go about supporting our students? Sorry about that. One of the biggest priorities that the Board of Education several years ago had was to hire a staff counselor in every building. So West has one, North has one, the junior senior high has two. That's a place that every student can go and talk to a counselor in confidence. And if they need more help, the counselor can help them determine where they need to get the help from. Another way is we've done curriculum that teaches a lesson about social emotional learning every week in some buildings, and also integrated in lessons on a daily basis. Like everybody said, the staff is trained to see signs of mental health and what action should be taken. This is being done on different fronts of professional development provided by the district in forms of Project Frontier, and Visible Learning. Each student needs to know that they have a safe and secure place that they can come to, and they can enjoy the time that they're learning in each and every building. Thanks.
Paige?
Mental health is such a key part of learning. When students feel safe, supported, and understood, they're better able to focus and succeed. As a mom of a child with special needs, I have seen firsthand how much it matters when a school truly supports the whole child. And I want to see more open communication between families, teachers, counselors, along with partnerships and expanding what the community involvement already is in our schools. Every small step can make a difference. Calm spaces, peer support groups, or tools for teachers to recognize early signs of struggle. Every student deserves to feel valued and know that they have someone in their corner.
Yeah, like everybody said, obviously we know mental health is such an issue everywhere. Like Terry mentioned, having been on the board for a while, we certainly make this a priority. It's something that's been very important to me since I've been on the board. The biggest things for me would be just support mental health district-wide by supporting regular, ongoing teacher, staff training, professional development, like we've mentioned, obviously with mental health topics being the priority. But also making the mental health a priority during any of our strategic planning meetings that we have, which we do at the board level quite a bit. And again, it is something that we've made a focus, but we still need to continue to do more.
Okay, next question. What steps would you take to lower the dropout rate? And additionally, what actions would you suggest to increase the graduation rate?
Okay, so in my, we'll say, limited research looking up on the Kansas Department of Education website, I actually feel like our graduation and dropout rates are fairly comparable with the average of the state. Now, that's not to say there isn't room for improvement, but I think the bigger issue is declining enrollment and recruitment and retention of teachers. However, I do think we need to give credit where credit is due, and I know the high school, and I'm sure admin and the board have made a lot of strides in improving those graduation rates, so I just, I guess, want to applaud their efforts. I think that it's going to be in utilizing the new CTE building, hopefully, and expanding on its current programs and trying to include more students and continuing our relationship and partnership with Fort Hays Tech Northwest. I think that's another reason why we need to be voting yes and yes on November 4th. So that is my plug for that. I also think, again, engaging students early to give them a love of learning through programs, potentially like a Reading Buddy program. But yeah, I think I'm done.
Dallas.
So yeah, like Kat said, I think we're right there with the state average. I think 77, 78% graduation rate. There's always room for improvement though. So to lower the dropout rate and increase graduation rate, I think it's important to start focusing on connection, support, and opportunity. Students are far more likely to stay in school if they feel seen, supported, and part of a community. So as a school board member, I would advocate for strengthening the relationship between students, teachers, and families. This can include more mentorship programs and check-ins with students who are starting to fall behind or showing signs of disengagement. I'd also push to expand flexible learning options, career and technical classes. I think Kat touched on some of that. More hands-on learning. A lot of kids aren't really designed to sit in a seat all day for 8 hours. I'm sure you teachers are aware of that. I was one of those kids, right? I almost dropped out of school when I was in high school. I had my principal come visit me. I felt seen, right? I think that students thrive when they can connect what they're learning to a class, to a job or a skill that they're going to use the rest of their life. So I think that's huge. Additionally, early intervention is key. You can use attendance and grade and other data to spot students who are struggling sooner and bring counseling, tutoring, and after-school support to them before it's too late. Creating a safe, positive school environment, one that values respect and belonging, helps students feel motivated to finish strong. The goal of building an environment where students feel they can succeed and where graduation isn't just expected, but achievable for everyone.
I feel the dropout rate and the graduation rate go hand in hand. If the dropout rate goes down, our graduation rate's gonna go up. Here's some things that I think we can combat with the dropout rate. We can improve student engagement through interactive and hands-on learning like welding, the wood shop, and other CTE programs. Making coursework more relevant through real-world connections. Stuff like shadowing in healthcare, education, or agriculture are three of those things that we can do. Providing strong support systems for mental health services. Fostering a positive and supportive school environment with strong teacher-student relationships. And identifying at-risk students early through grade monitoring so intervention can take place earlier and those students can get back on track to graduate with their class.
Thank you, Terry. Okay.
When you look at state averages and you look at rates, the problem with a rate when we're looking at class sizes of 60 or 70 is you lose one kid and we suddenly have a 2 to 3% rate of dropout. I think to say, how can we fix that? You can't wave a magic wand and say we can save them all. But we can say, hey, did I check in? Hey, did I ask that kid why we decided that we didn't want to come back to school? And it's something that we could say, hey, did you try doing the hands-on thing? Did you try seeing the counselor? Maybe it was something at home and not necessarily in the school district, right? We have a really awesome team at administration. Our high school principal works really well with these kids to try to get them back on track. But we also have to look at, are parents and family involved? If parents and family don't value education, that kid's not gonna value the education, right? But I would like to see us using the data and the conversations from the kids that wanna be done and applying it to policies or procedures or activities that we can do to get them back in, okay? Obviously, our graduation rate isn't 100%, but when we're looking at Goodland, we're looking at families who move away, we're looking at families who stay and come and go, and that graduation rate's that 4-year cohort, right? So if we can try to also incentivize people to stay in Goodland, we're gonna see our graduations go up because the kids are staying with their parents, right, hopefully. But lastly, and it's been touched on several times, the different pathways to success. I was a kid that didn't study, I was a kid that got good grades, I did really well, I went to college, I did the traditional route, right? I didn't marry somebody that way, I married somebody in a technical field. We went on, I have a dad that teaches in the technical field, right? All of those things are super important. The support, the staff, the faculty, all of that goes together so that as a student feels welcome, they feel engaged, they feel like part of something, the more likely to stick around.
Thank you, Michaela. Trevor.
Yeah, I think everybody's covered on a lot of what I would like to say too, but we have had several conversations at the board level regarding the dropout rate and ways to potentially mitigate that. I feel like continuing to offer out-of-the-box educational opportunities for students could be a way to help. I would encourage the expansion of the programs that we already have in place for students to get involved that are outside of the classroom, activities like Science Olympiad, the Goodland Voice, broadcasting opportunities that exist there, FCA, FCCLA, HALO, FFA, just to name a few. The expansion of the CTE building could potentially offer additional opportunities for these kinds of specific interests. Continuing to support collaboration with Fort Hays Tech Northwest and supporting that junior-senior option that we have, along with many other opportunities. I think we've done a great job, but certainly we can continue to do better.
Thank you, Trevor. Paige?
I believe every student deserves a path that fits them, and not everyone learns the same way, and that's okay. We can strengthen alternative learning options, career and technical programs, and credit recovery options to students to stay on track. I myself did the senior option and went to Fort Hays Tech Northwest as a senior. It is a phenomenal program, and I just feel like strengthening those kind of things really gives a well-rounded student, and it gives opportunity to students who maybe couldn't have afforded to do that right out of school. Connection is also key. When students have someone who believes in them, a coach, a teacher, a mentor, it can change everything. I'd like to see us build strong mentorships with community partners that remind students they matter and that graduation opens doors. Most importantly, I believe in listening, and everyone knows I will ask a question until I get the answer I want. And we need to ask these students why they're struggling, get our hands on them before they get to the point where they feel like they have no other option other than leaving. I'm very proactive and try not to be as reactive. Thank you.
Thank you, Paige. Chris?
Yeah, I have a lot of the same, but I'll just kind of highlight some differences. So teacher retention, again, I keep going back to that, how important teacher retention is. I mean, teachers, they see the warning signs, and if we're able to keep our teachers here, I believe that, you know, absenteeism, failing grades, behavioral changes, I believe all those things could get caught early. So I feel like one of the big things I want to highlight is our CTE program. Obviously, not all students are made for the classroom. We've all covered that. And we have an opportunity to expand our CTE program. And I got some statistics that I'd like to highlight that I was kind of surprised by, but at the same time, not really. So 93% of CTE students graduate compared to 80%. So 93% of students involved in CTE graduate. 82% of CTE students are satisfied with learning real-world skills compared to 51% not involved in CTE. 92% of students and parents are satisfied with their high school experience when asked, compared to only 78% not involved. And this one is the most surprising. For every CTE credit one takes, it increases that child's likelihood of graduating by 4%. So I think it's super important that we expand the CTE program if we're able to. You know, if we think about it, we live in a community that is ag-based. We live in a community where this type of thing is needed, and we really need to think about where we're going to get the best good, and I think that this will really help improve graduation rates as well. Again, flexible pathways, we need to celebrate milestones, and that is time. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. These final two questions come from our educators. Question number one. What do you see as the biggest challenge facing Kansas public schools right now, and how would you address it if elected? Dallas.
All right, so I know the question says Kansas public schools, but I want to focus on Goodland public schools. Depending on where you look, the stats may vary a bit, but in 2013-14, Goodland schools ranked at around 115 out of roughly 300 districts in the state. As of 24-25 school year, we were ranked about 215. We lost 100 spots in about 11 years. The underlying stats behind that are about 70% of our students district-wide are not able to read or write at an effective level. Math is 73% that do not write or do not function at an effective level. Science is 70%. You might ask what an effective level is. There's not really a definition given by the state on the website there. I've recently had conversations with business owners that might help you understand though. I've had two conversations basically, Goodland, in Goodland here. They told me they had to change their ways due to kids not being able to write or read handwritten notes or orders. One had to go to a digital ordering system and not do handwritten orders as kids were taking orders at restaurants. The other one just stopped hiring high school students altogether because they were struggling to read notes that were left for them as far as stuff they needed to get done. I've got questions as far as how we got to this point. Is it the one-to-one iPad initiative that started the year after that, 2013-14 year? Are we understaffed, with support or teachers? Are we struggling to get students motivated somehow? Were there other changes that were here that caused that decline? I want to be clear, I'm not pointing fingers at anybody out here. I know you guys all work hard. This is a collective effort. I'm just genuinely perplexed and confused as to why our students are struggling to get to the effective levels in the core subjects. I believe the first step towards reversing this trend is to listen closely to students, teachers, parents, and community members to really understand what's driving these challenges. We need to be willing to try new approaches while learning from what has worked everywhere in Kansas and beyond. My commitment to this, my commitment is to work with everyone invested in our kids' future to find practical solutions to help the students succeed. Together we can rebuild confidence in our schools and create a supportive environment where our children thrive academically and personally.
Thank you, Dallas. We'll move on to Paige.
One of the biggest challenges is doing more with less. Schools are being asked to meet academic, emotional, and social needs all at once, often without enough resources or staff. In my facilities and resource management role, I've learned how to stretch a dollar, find creative solutions, and make the most of what's available. I bring this approach to the board, looking for partnerships, grants, and shared resources to help our students without adding and straining staff or budgets. Another challenge is supporting and retaining teachers. They are the heart of our school. They deserve to feel appreciated and heard. I'd work to strengthen communication and collaboration between the board and our educators. Between them, if they feel supported, our kids are supported.
Trevor?
I feel like there are several challenges facing Kansas public schools, and as Dallas says, Goodland public schools. One of the biggest is teacher staff recruitment and retention. I would continue to support Mr. Bierman in his efforts to attend career fairs and other avenues to find new young teachers, but also know that we want to take care of and support the amazing teachers that we already have and the staff that we already have. I support things that we already are doing, like offering housing stipends, signing incentives, continuing to support paraprofessionals, high school students, community members who want to become teachers by offering alternative certification routes for that non-traditional student, as well as support manageable class sizes. Another huge issue is funding. I would continue to work with local legislators like Mr. Billinger and Mr. Smith to improve funding. As a board, we just signed to become members of KARE, which focuses on education in rural Kansas, which ensures that we have a dedicated lobbyist working on our behalf. And finally, another important issue is infrastructure and technology gaps. I feel like the board has done a good job over the years of maintaining our wonderful facilities, but this is something that we must continue to do. We need to continue to invest in improvement projects in order to ensure that our facilities remain viable and conducive to learning for all students.
Thank you, Trevor. Michaela?
Obviously, we've heard the big ones, right? We can't keep our teachers, we can't get our teachers. We are doing really good things in Goodland, bringing things in. We have Dawson Raymer who came back. He got a welcome back grant, right? We're supporting our teachers. You don't hear anything negative about how awesome our teachers are and why we can't keep them, other than, hey, we really want you to stay in this there's nowhere in your town. We got the funding, but I think what we're also struggling with, and it's a cause for burnout, is the social emotional readiness. The kids are struggling to learn class material because socially and emotionally we're not there. Again, I don't have a magic wand. I don't know what the best policy or procedure or way to go about this is besides knowing that it's there and it's a hurdle, right? They're facing challenges that we never had to deal with. COVID wasn't a thing when we went through school. I didn't have to sit 6 feet apart from my friends. I didn't have to learn with a face mask in front of me. Anybody have a parent or an elderly person who can't hear? Can they understand what you're saying if your face is covered, right? So yes, we have atrocious reading and math rates, but we can improve, right? But if we can't improve if we don't have the kids that are socially and emotionally ready to learn, which is a whole list of things, right? So anxiety, things like that. But giving teachers the right tools, training, and support will help keep them in the district, but it's also going to help our kids keep engaged and keep them learning and excited to learn so that we can bridge those gaps and get them back where we need to academically.
Thank you, Michaela. Kat?
Okay, well, I also feel like the top two challenges facing Kansas public schools are declining enrollment and teacher recruitment and retention. As a board member, I feel like it's our job to hire and hold the superintendent accountable, who in turn is hiring admin and teachers, and he's holding them they're holding them accountable. And when we have successful admin and teachers, then ultimately our students are successful. And isn't that the point of it all? My philosophy as a parent with kids in public education is if I can do whatever I can to equip their teacher, then if they're successful, my kid is successful. So maybe that looks like a committee within the board to facilitate a new teacher support group, whether that's acclimating to life in Goodland or in the classroom. Maybe it's helping to foster a community of sharing information just so that they know they're not alone. I mean, teaching in this day is a job I don't want, and so I want to help the teachers. I want to empower them and encourage them to get the resources they need. Also, I wonder, are there grants to be had that could help put more helping hands in the classroom? I know behaviors are becoming more prevalent, and so how can we create a fun and a safe learning environment, all while allowing the teacher to actually teach?
Terry?
Well, most of my things, the biggest challenge of public education have already been talked about. But to me, the biggest challenge we face every year in our district is funding. Whether the state or the federal government will cut our funding is huge. If they do this, where's that going to lead USD 352? What problems will arise? And how will we be able to, as a community, fix those problems without the funding from the state or the federal government? Another challenge, of course, is the teacher and staff shortages. Not just the recruitment and the retention, but just the shortages in general. There's not many students coming out of colleges that are teacher ready, so we have to look outside the box to hire qualified staff members. We have to have a competitive salary schedule and benefit package, which I can say we have been able to give raises and still maintain a single health insurance policy to every full-time employee of the district. But it is also, we need to have a better culture in our district. That starts at the board level, filters down to the admin team, to the teachers, to the paras, to our students. If we have good culture within our district, those people are going to want to come to us and want to be employed by USD 352. And of course, social and emotional issues, those are always a challenge and will be a challenge until probably the end of time, because anxiety, depression, and all those things are just on the rise. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Chris?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what's being said. So the two main challenges as I see it is teacher shortages and retention, and also funding and equity of resources. So attracting and retaining teachers. We need to build a culture of respect and recognition for our teachers. Get them involved in the decision making. You know, a lot of times when the decision is made, when the board makes a decision, isn't always what's best, isn't always what works best in the classroom. They look good on paper, but get the teachers more involved in the decision making. Help teachers put down roots, housing support, mentorship for school and community, get them involved with what Goodland has to offer. Emphasize small town advantages. You know, that's something that like small classroom sizes or class sizes, closer relationships with the students, with the staff, administration, and safer community. That's not something that the larger school districts can offer, so take advantage of that. Offer creative incentives, CEU or tuition reimbursement, loan assistance, local perks, maybe local discounts. Funding challenges. Rural schools often face limited resources and rising costs. We're often in competition with larger school districts. So we need to engage with the legislators in Topeka, advocate for fair funding, and we need to get the community behind that. We need to educate the community with funding gaps so they can support that. Maintain local transparency and accountability in spending capital-based needs. Where we're at in the process, I think a good example is the CTE program and how well that campaign has gone. Getting the community involved makes a big difference with getting the legislatures in Topeka to listen to us.
Thank you, Chris. Our final question tonight: how would you ensure transparency and accountability in school board decision making?
All right. As far as transparency and accountability, I personally want to be a visible board member. I want to spend time in each of the buildings. I think it would be really fun to go at least into the lower elementary schools and maybe be a guest reader. So I want to spend time in the schools. I also believe there needs to be a mechanism for teachers to give feedback or to be able to voice their concerns, something of like a help desk that you would have for IT. If the board is responsible for making informed decisions and policy, then how do we know if we're doing our jobs well if we don't hear from admin, teachers, and staff? I also think that maybe there's a way to live stream the meetings like they do with our city and county commission. And I also think it could be beneficial to post the board minutes in the teacher lounges of all the schools. But ultimately, I want teachers to feel heard and valued.
Transparency and accountability to me kind of boils down to trust, right? Like, I want to be in the community and I want the community member to be like, hey, I know they're on the school board and let's have that conversation. Now, that doesn't mean come attack me about like nitpicky things, right? But hey, what's happening in the school district? What's going on in the USD this week? What can we expect to see, right? We should be able to have those like openly. Kat nailed it with the live meetings. I'm a mom, a busy mom. I work all the places, we do all the things. I have 2 kids, we love it, right? 6 p.m. on a Monday is not the greatest time to be like, I'm gonna be there. I'm being there, I'm getting there. But it would also be super awesome if I could be like, hey, let's turn this on so I can listen while I make dinner, or like while we're in the car. I think another really cool thing we could do is make sure that the minutes are available before we walk into the meeting. So like, hey, if there's something on that agenda that I'm really interested or I'm really passionate about, I could be there and be in on that conversation, at least know kind of what's going on before I get mad because I was misinformed. So when that community feels that the board's listening and being upfront, it's building that confidence and it's keeping everybody working towards that same goal, and it's making our kid, helping our kids succeed. No one feels left out as long as there's communication. It could come easily. Let's put those minutes. There's the blast that all the USD 352 people get when we've got a school day or or whatever. We could post them on the USD website a day or 2 before the board. Hey, this is what we're going to talk about this week. Let us know if you need to have a moment. Usually, I doubt someone needs to have that many moments. I hope, but. Like just being able to say, hey, this is what's going on. Please come find us if you have questions, and then being able to say, hey, yeah, I have your answer, or let me go get that answer so we aren't mishearing what's going on, because we live in a small community. Misconceptions and miscommunication are big, and if we as a board can try to kind of fight that both via social media and in the public, it would easily make that transparency and accountability there. Thank you.
Thank you, Dallas.
Well, just like everybody else has suggested, I think that broadcasting meetings live would be great, but also not just broadcast them, store them somewhere where everybody can have access to them at any time. We have an awesome broadcasting class that could potentially help with that even. But after several conversations with current and ex-staff of USD 352, the biggest issue brought up was that they felt they didn't have access to the school board. Most felt as if they would be repercussions if they went to the board instead of going to the school or the building principals or the superintendent first. With few exceptions, I was told that most board members would even refuse to have discussions with teachers and staff. They were told they needed to follow the chain of command, and I'm all for chain of command, right? I'm not against it. I've worked in corporate America with MasterCard and several other places, but I think that there should be a way for teachers to skip that level and come up to the board and have a conversation. Now, not all things are board issues, right? Some of it has to be handled at the lower levels, which is fine. Like I said, my experience in corporate America has taught me that skip level meetings are very valuable, and there's a lot of stuff gained from that. Transparency and open communication are foundations of trust between the school board staff and our community. By making the meetings easy to access and creating opportunities for direct, respectful dialogue between board members and staff, we can break down the barriers and ensure everyone feels heard. It's important that staff know they can come forward without concerns without fear of repercussions. My goal is to build a culture where communication flows freely, respect is mutual, and decisions are made with full transparency. Only by working together openly can we truly support our students and keep improving our schools.
Thank you, Dallas. Paige? Test.
Well, he's accountable. Transparency starts with communication and trust. Our community deserves to know the why behind the decisions that are made and not just what those decisions are. If elected, I'd advocate for clear communication between the board, staff, and families, whether it's through regular updates, accessible meetings, meeting information, or just being approachable to be able to ask questions. Accountability means listening, taking time to understand concerns, following up when needed, and not being afraid to make the 10th phone call to figure out what I'm trying to figure out. I want to make sure that people feel confident that the board is working for them and not above them. Michaela and I went to all 3 schools and met with the principals over the last week and asked, what they would like from a prospective board member, and it really gave some very good insight to different ways that they're needing supported or they're supporting their staff. I'm gonna tell on Mr. Holleran for a minute. He explained something very cool that he does with his staff, like a check-in weekly where he sends them asking questions, what's about to happen in the school, and it sends back to him like anonymously. And I just thought, what a transparent way to meet your staff where they're at and also give them a chance to shed light on something that he might need to know, that they don't feel like they could just openly say it. He's even said that he's had people be like, hey, I need a sub for next week. And he's like, can you guys let me know who needed that? Because it's that anonymous. And I just thought that that was so neat that he implemented that and gave basically a voice and a space where staff could feel safe to check in. At the end of the day, we're all here for the same reason, and it's to make every child in our district have the best possible experience to learn, grow, and succeed. And I hope to help you do that.
Yeah, I think everything everybody said so far is accurate. Trust and communication are the key. As a board member, I believe that the public has the right to understand the how and why decisions are made. Our meetings are certainly open to the public, but I know that we're all busy, as we've mentioned, and might not always be able to attend meetings. Making the agendas, minutes, discussion items more easily accessible or earlier maybe. I'm not sure the protocol on that, but I'm sure there's something that we can certainly work on that behalf. I do intend to always act in the best interest of the students. Certainly no special interest on my part. Listen respectfully, even to any critics that we may have.
Chris?
So transparency is the foundation of public trust. I agree with what a lot has been said. I think that posting the agenda ahead of the meeting time would be really helpful for the community to know what was going on, what was being discussed, what was being voted on, give them an opportunity to come to the board meetings if they would like, and also make sure that the community knows that they're welcome to be there. I'm not so sure that everybody does know that, so maybe post that, the agenda online, make sure everyone knows. Increase accessibility, use short videos, media to kind of explain things, possibly stream the meetings would be helpful. Encourage public input, open forums, surveys, listening sessions, coffee with the board member possibly, or breakfast with the board member. Something else, show measurable progress. I think that's really important when it comes to transparency. So report regularly on academic, safety, and spending goals. Make sure the community knows where we're at as far as the capital budget goes, where our goals are with the spending. Make sure that we see that we report progress or declination when it comes to the academic side of things. So, and if things aren't working, then we own it and we adjust. So the goal is the community should never have to wonder what's going on. They should already know.
Thank you, Chris. Terry?
Transparency and trust and communication is a must for a Board of Education member. I'm an open book. My email and phone number are public record at the district office. Or you can catch me tonight after the forum and I'd gladly give them to you. I'd love to have an open and candid conversation with anyone about anything that the Board of Education, on any of the Board of Education matters. Are there ways we can do better? Sure there is. We can have maybe more detailed minutes by getting our agenda out on a more timely manner. Just so you know, the Board of Education meetings are the second and fourth Mondays of the month at 6 p.m. in the board office, the board room in the district office. We would love to have a packed house at every one of our meetings so you can hear our conversations firsthand and you don't hear them from other people out and about. So please reach out with anything on your mind. I'd love to talk to each and every one of you. Thank you for your support and thank you for supporting USD 352.
Thank you, Terry. I think one thing that we've seen in politics at all levels is the lack of candidates with the courage to step up and run. And I think one thing we've seen tonight is that Goodland is blessed to have a number of people that are willing to step up and run and put themselves out for leadership roles. So let's give these guys a round of applause. These candidates, I'm sure, would all be happy to meet you out front if you'd like to come out and shake their hand. Other than that, I want to thank you on behalf of everybody that's asked me to be here tonight. Thank you for being here. So thank you. Appreciate it.